Hi there, I'm the Reverend Danny Crosby, Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and in Urmston in the northwest of England. And I'm offering this devotion as a balm for the heart, for the mind, for the spirit and for the soul. And it's titled The Impermanence of Truth. Vanity, vanity, all is vanity. I recently visited my sister Liz. She owns the tenancy of a bar and a microbrewery in Wakefield. She's worked in the ale trade, if you like, for many years and is quite an expert in all aspects of it. It was wonderful to watch her in operation, talking with a variety of customers, real ale types, about all kinds of different beers, etc. It was fun to watch her both pacify, occasional mansplaining, and from time to time correcting the misinformed. They obviously respect her as they took her word for things. There was not too much defensiveness of positions. And this is not always the case, of course, and I know that she does have her running from time to time with individuals with strong views and opinions who do not like to have their positions questioned, let alone corrected. This, of course, happens in all areas of life, particularly about things we're passionate about, those that mean something to us. We all have strong held views, we all have our truth, and no one likes to have such truths questioned. To have such views, truths, and opinions questioned can at times feel like a personal affront. Now, of course, this is okay, so long as we can agree to disagree in love. Sadly, in our current climate, this seems to be harder and harder for people. We live in such divisive times. It's important for a person to own their truth, to speak their truth, but not to be closed off to others and the truth of others by such strong-held beliefs. It's equally important not to dismiss others just because they come to different conclusions to us. This seems as important in the pubs of this land with the camera guys and the craft beer types as it is in the political and in other arenas too. Yes, it is important to know our truths, but not to become slaves to them. Humility is always key in life, for it is this that will keep us open to new truth and to grow in both understanding and effectiveness in life. We need to be able to change our minds, to change our lives. As Catherine Hepburn said in Philadelphia Story, the time to make up your mind about other people is never. I suspect it's the same about everything, to be stuck in that place. Life is fluid and so are people. Nothing ever really stays exactly the same. It's the same with truth. My truth today is not exactly as it was a few years ago. How about yours? Do you see things today exactly as you always have? Or have some things changed? Perhaps the only constant about personal truth is personal truth's impermanence. The impermanence of truth, if you like. This brings to my mind the Buddhist concept of dukkha. Dukkha is one of those words that's kind of difficult to explain in English, really. It's often translated as suffering, that all of life is suffering. But I'm not sure that's an entirely accurate translation in the sense that suffering is understood by we in the West. What I believe it's trying to teach is that suffering is a part of life, that nothing ever lasts forever, that nothing stays exactly as it is in its current state. Impermanence is central to the Buddhist path. The path to enlightenment is to accept that nothing ever lasts forever. Nothing ever lasts forever. I think that was echoing the Buddy Men, wasn't it? Nothing ever lasts forever. This speaks powerfully to me, really, especially when I think about truth. I have certainly noticed over the years the impermanence of truth. And so many of our troubles, our problems in life seemingly come from our struggle against impermanence. How often do we try to grab to the seeming safety of absolutes for certainty instead of opening to the freedom that comes with accepting that nothing is permanent, including how we see life and one another. Accepting impermanence helps in the search for truth. It helps us to see the freedom that comes with changing our point of view about things. If you think about it, if nothing ever stays the same, then surely our point of view ought to be ever changing too. Life is always teaching us something new if we would but stay open to it. That's why the time to make up your mind about other people is never. People change. Nothing and no one stays exactly the same forever. Nothing is permanent. The leopard is actually capable of changing his spots, or at least from time to time, those spots appear to get rearranged. Don't get stuck in the metaphor, please. It's the same with truth. That of our own truth and the truth of others, we must never become slaves to what we perceive to be true. This brings to mind a favourite snippet from Anthony de Mello's 1 Minute Wisdom. To a visitor who described himself as a seeker after truth, the teacher said, "If what you seek is truth, there is one thing you must have above all else." "I know," answered the student, "an overwhelming passion for it." "No," said the teacher, "an unremitting readiness to admit you may be wrong." To seek the truth, one needs humility and openness and enough self-esteem to see that we are wrong sometimes, and of course the capacity to admit to this. If we cannot, we will not be able to see the truth even when it's right in front of us. It is so easy to become blinded by what we think we know. We need the openness that comes with true humility. For this is a truth that will set us free. One of the biggest barriers to truth seeking are our biases, sometimes unconscious biases at that. I was thinking of this as I reflected on my sister's conversation with the real ale types and the craft ale ones too. They both have their separate section along the bar, I noticed, and both sides were so certain as to what was superior to the other. And apparently rarely does each side concede to the other, but one or two people do. One or two people are prepared to see that there's worth and value in either type. As I was listening to a conversation about this, it reminded me of what it must have been like for the British folk scene back in the 60s when Dylan went electric, how dare he, at the Manchester Free Trade Hall. How so many saw this as an absolute betrayal, beyond the pale, totally unacceptable. How strange we are about things. We all, of course, have our preferences, the things we like and the way that we like them. This is a good thing to know ourselves. Sadly, though, sometimes we become slaves to these preferences and they quickly become biases. Our biases can blind us, close us off to others and others' point of view. They trap us in ignorance, deception and illusion. And when we're stuck behind them, no amount of reasoning and discussion will break through them. It seems that the only way to do this is to break down the walls of our own biases. Such biases can be strong, and instead of being open to new ideas, we seek ideas that confirm whatever it is that we believe. And you know, there's actually a name for this. It's called confirmation bias. It is easy to seek out people and things that will agree with us and confirm our biases, rather than be around people who will disagree with us and therefore wrestle with our own truth and the truth of others. It's just more comfortable and less painful, but it's no way to grow. No, not at all. Growth seems to always come through pain and through struggle. Growth is not easy. But who said life's meant to be easy or pain-free? Who said that? I'm not sure it is. Truth is neither pain-free nor is it permanent. It requires humility and it requires openness. There is no place for vanity, all is vanity. This brings me to the book of Ecclesiastes, actually, the first chapter of which begins with the writer stating that all is vanity. We humans demand to know the answers to everything. And even if we could discover the answers to everything, I'm not sure it would help that much, really. Would it make life safe? Would it guarantee immunity from pain and suffering? Of course not, for they are a part of life. Now, this does not stop us asking the question that we have asked since time began. They're good questions. It does not stop us asking the ultimate questions of what the meaning of life is. The author of Ecclesiastes tells us that he spent quite some time himself not only asking these very questions, but really striving for the answer. He tells us that he first sought pleasure. He spared himself no sensual delights. Yet he found these pleasures hollow and meaningless. It was as if he were chasing after wind. He then threw himself into working hard and he succeeded, but discovered he received no greater reward for his labours than those who did little. Hard work alone failed to make him happy, nor did it give him a sense of accomplishment. So he devoted himself to righteousness, hoping that God would reward him for this. But soon discovered that he actually was absolutely no better off than those who had robbed and cheated and stole from their neighbours. So he sought and won unimaginable power. And what happened? Well, that brought him little satisfaction too. Finally, he concluded that all this striving for rewards was meaningless and without substance. He concludes that it was all vanity, that once we see all that we gain, it just vanishes in the air. It's all vanity, it's all vanity. We try to have control. It's vanity, it's all vanity. Chaos rules it all. It's all vanity. Vanity, vanity, all is vanity. And of course, this was Narcissus' problem. He was consumed by his own vanity. He stared into his own reflection and became consumed by his own love for himself. And as a result, he withered away and he died. And maybe this is the problem. In our search for truth, for meaning, for happiness, we become consumed by ourselves, by our own reflection. In so doing, we become cut off from one another, from life and from God. Maybe the pursuit becomes so addictive and all-consuming that we fail to experience life and therefore fail to experience the love that's already here. Chasing after truth, chasing after happiness, chasing after meaning is like chasing after the wind. Well, the wind is a wild and untamable beast. A beast that does not need taming, that just needs to be felt and or experienced and delighted in. The gift, you see, is life itself. And yet we spend so much time failing to truly experience our own lives because we get lost in the whys and the wherefores. We get lost in our own reflection. We get lost in our own vanity, vanity, all is vanity. And it's the same with truth. With how we see our truth, with the way we defend our truth against the truth claims of others. How can we, when the truth is that over our lives, we've changed our own minds about our own truth, and yet we defend what we see as true right now. Maybe our vanity is at its pinnacle, its greatest height, when it comes to claims about truth, actually, how we defend them to death in some cases. Vanity, vanity, all is vanity. How vain we are. Now, and according to Forest Church, the word vain carries two complementary connotations: puffed up and empty or impossible. To elevate ourselves above others is vanity, because from dust we all come and to dust we shall return. And attempting to do what cannot be done or to know what cannot be known is a vain or impossible endeavour. In common parlance, vanity is pride. We cannot form saving connections when we permit pride to distance us from others, and when we tether our hopes to a vain object, our lifelines will not hold. On the other hand, compassion unites us with others, and humility concedes our human limitations. It's all vanity, it's all vanity, as we try to have control. It's vanity, it's all vanity, chaos rules it all. You see, sadly, our truth claims and thus our dismissal of the truth claims of others tend to separate us. Whether that's in the field of music, craft beer and real ale, football, politics, health matters and measures. You see, the truth should set us free. It should open us up. It should lead to deeper connections. It should not build barriers. And besides, surely for our truths to be true, we have to accept they're impermanent, that they're always subject to change. They should not be barriers, they should be bridges that connect us, not barriers that divide us. And yet too often, our vanity separates us from one another and from our true selves, really. Life is impermanent. Life is dukkha. Vanity, vanity, all is vanity. I do like the way that Ecclesiastes critiques our human vanity. That said, it's a bit overly pessimistic, I think. And that does need to be questioned too. There is great meaning to be unearthed in life. And maybe this is where our search for truth ought to really lead, to follow Frankl's truth and search out our own meaning in whatever situation we find ourselves in, to discover our own truth and to share our truth with others, not as a barrier to theirs, but as a way to encourage them to seek their own truth, as a bridge, not a barrier. The time to permanently make up our minds about anything is never. We must always remain open to one another, open to life, open to truth. We must never let our truth claims become barriers to others. That is not to say we ought to bow to others or not to question their truth, but to remain open, to not become vain about our claims, to remain open to something new, and to always, always, always respect the humanity of another. We must always do that. But remember, nothing in life is permanent. Everything changes. Life is dukkha. From dust we were born, and to dust we shall return. For it's all vanity, it's all vanity, as we try to have control. It's vanity, it's all vanity, chaos rules it all. Vanity, vanity, all is vanity. So I'm going to end with some final words of blessing. And we need to bless more. We can all bless. And we bless life by offering ourselves fully to it. So some final words of blessing. Let's go now in peace and deeply regard each other. Truly listen to what one another says. Speak what each of us must speak, and be ready in any moment to disarm our own hearts. And let's always live as if the realm of love had already begun. And may the love that is God be with us all. And may it come to life in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say, and in all that we do. Amen.